AITA for walking out after my brother proposed to my wife at our anniversary dinner? I'm Dylan, 37, and at the time, Hannah and I had been married for 9 years. People used to call us steady. I took that as a compliment. We rarely had dramatic fights, we paid our bills on time, and we had routines that made our home feel settled. I made Hannah's coffee every morning with a splash of oat milk and 1 teaspoon of sugar. She reminded me when I forgot to replace the air filter. I checked the porch light before bed. She folded towels into thirds because she hated how I did it. In the bottom drawer beside the refrigerator, I kept reservation cards and receipts from every anniversary dinner we had ever shared. Hannah once found them and laughed, but she also kissed me and said it was sweet. I thought those small things meant I was building a life with her. Apparently, she had started seeing them as proof that I had stopped trying. The change did not happen overnight. It began with comments that sounded harmless enough. One evening, while we were eating takeout at the kitchen counter, Hannah looked around the room and said, "Do you ever feel like we're just maintaining everything?" I thought she meant the house. "We could redo the cabinets next year," I said. She gave me a tired look. "That's not what I mean." I put down my fork. "What do you mean?" "I mean us. Our life. I want to feel like we're moving towards something, not just keeping everything from falling apart." I asked what she wanted to move toward. A bigger savings goal? More travel? A different routine? She said she did not know. She wanted more security, but when I pointed out that we had an emergency fund, retirement accounts, and no major debt, she shook her head. "Security isn't just numbers," she said. "It's feeling like the person beside you is hungry for something." That bothered me, but I did not turn it into an argument. I asked her to think about what specifically felt missing so we could work on it together. She said, "That's the problem, Dylan. I always have to explain everything." A week later, my younger brother Carter received a large payout. He had spent years drifting between plans, investments, and business ideas that always sounded impressive at family dinners and somehow disappeared before anyone could ask how they worked. This time, though, the money was real. He had sold his share of an asset and settled a dispute connected to an old partnership. I never knew the exact amount, but it was enough for him to start behaving like a man who expected every room to turn when he entered. First came the watch, then the expensive dinners, then social media photos of rooftop tables, unopened bottles, and captions about risk, freedom, and never settling. Our mother, Sheila, was thrilled. "Carter finally feels good about himself," she told me over the phone. "You know how hard it was for him always being compared to you." I had never asked anyone to compare us. Growing up, I was the one who followed rules because somebody had to. Carter was charming, impulsive, and always certain that consequences were something older brothers invented to ruin fun. When he was 23 and needed rent money, I loaned it to him. When he was 27 and left his car 3 states away after a failed trip with friends, I helped him get it back. When he forgot Mom's birthday 2 years in a row, I put his name on the gift. None of that mattered once he had money. At the first family dinner after his payout, Carter arrived carrying a bottle that cost more than the entire meal. He set it on the table and said, "Figured we should drink something that doesn't taste like regret." Mom laughed too loudly. Mara, our cousin, rolled her eyes but smiled. Hannah turned the bottle in her hands and read the label. "You bought this for dinner?" she asked. Carter leaned back in his chair. "Why not? Money is supposed to make life better." Then he looked at me. "Some people save every dollar like they plan to take it with them." I ignored him. Later, while Hannah was helping Mom in the kitchen, Carter stood beside me and nodded toward them. "She looks good," he said. "She always does." "You tell her that?" "Yes." He smiled as if he had caught me lying. "You should tell her where people can hear it. I don't need an audience to speak to my wife." "That's convenient." I looked at him. "What exactly are you trying to say?" "Relax. Not everything is a threat unless you already feel threatened." That was the first time he used that line. It would not be the last. Over the next 2 months, Carter's jokes became more direct. If Hannah mentioned wanting to travel, he would say, "I know places that don't require 6 months of spreadsheet planning." If she complained about replacing an appliance, he would say, "Some men solve problems by buying a new one." If I objected, he acted amused. At brunch one Sunday, he looked at Hannah and said, "Some women like men who take risks." Hannah laughed. I did not. "What's funny?" I asked. She glanced around the table. He's teasing you. No, he's testing how much disrespect everyone will pretend is humor. Mom sighed. Dylan, don't turn this into something ugly. I'm not turning it into anything. I'm naming what he's doing. Carter lifted his coffee. See? Threatened. Hannah touched my wrist under the table, but it was not a reassuring gesture. It was a warning to stop. On the drive home, she stared out the passenger window. You embarrassed me, she said. Your brother-in-law flirted with you in front of the family. He made a joke. He keeps making the same joke. Because you keep reacting. I tightened my hands on the steering wheel. So your solution is for me to stop objecting while he courts you? Her head snapped toward me. That is such an ugly way to put it. Is it inaccurate? He is not courting me. Then tell him to stop. You tell him. I have. She went quiet for a few seconds. Then she said, You always make boundaries sound noble when they're really just fear. That sentence stayed with me. I had never been afraid of Carter taking Hannah from me. Not then. I believed marriage had lines people simply did not cross. I believed my wife would be insulted by the suggestion that she could be bought with attention and expensive dinners. My mistake was assuming Hannah believed that too. The first gift arrived at our house on a Tuesday. It was a slim box containing a delicate bracelet. No romantic engraving. Nothing explicit. Just expensive enough to make the intention obvious while leaving room for denial. The card read, Saw this and thought of you. You deserve things people notice. Hannah found it before I got home. When I walked into the kitchen, she was standing under the pendant light with the bracelet around her wrist. She smiled at it in a way I had not seen her smile at anything I had given her in a long time. Then she noticed me. Her hand moved toward the card. What's that? I asked. Nothing. I held out my hand. She did not give me the card. It's just a gift, she said. You're acting like I ran away with him. No, I'm acting like my brother is courting my wife and you're letting him. Her face hardened. Maybe he notices things. I notice plenty. You notice practical things. Coffee, bills, the porch light. You notice what needs to be maintained. I notice you. Then why don't I feel it? I looked at the bracelet. Take it off and send it back. She folded her arms. You don't get to order me around. I'm not ordering you. I'm telling you what I need from my wife when my brother sends her jewelry. So this is about ownership. No, it's about respect. She laughed once, without humor. There it is. Your favorite word whenever you want me to obey. She wore the bracelet to bed. The next morning, I made coffee for one. For the first time, I began to wonder whether I had mistaken avoiding conflict for resolving it. I told Theo everything. Theo had been my closest friend for nearly 20 years. He was not dramatic, which was why I trusted him. When I finished explaining, he sat back in his chair and stared at me. Your brother sent your wife jewelry, he said. Yes. She kept it. Yes. And your family thinks you're the problem because you objected. That seems to be where we are. Theo rubbed his jaw. Do you have access to the card? The card. The note that came with the bracelet. No. Get a picture if you can. Save every text. Do not threaten either of them. Do not send long messages at midnight. They want a version of you they can quote later. Don't give them one. I thought he was being excessive. He said, I hope I am. A few days later, Hannah asked me to review some paperwork. She called it updating our future plans. The documents included changes to a shared credit line, alterations to beneficiary designations, and language that would have given her broader authority over certain joint accounts. I skimmed the first page and asked why it had to be done so quickly. Because I'm tired of us talking about security without doing anything, she said. We already have financial planning documents. These are more flexible. Who prepared them? A consultant, Carter knows. That was enough for me to stop reading. I'm having an independent attorney review this. Her mouth tightened. Why? Because that is what adults do before signing financial documents. You trust strangers more than your wife. I trust independent advice more than someone connected to Carter. She shoved the papers back into the envelope. You make everything feel like an investigation. I did not sign. 2 weeks before our anniversary, a charge alert appeared on our joint credit card. The purchase was not enormous, but it was from a boutique I did not recognize. Hannah said it was for clothes for our dinner. Then she asked whether I had confirmed the reservation. I showed her the confirmation on my phone. Private table deposit paid. 7 guests. Friday at 7. She smiled and kissed my cheek. See, she said, you can still surprise me. It felt warm in the moment. I wanted to believe we were turning back toward each other. The week of the dinner, Hannah became almost cheerful. She asked what I was wearing. She had her hair done. She called Mom twice and told Mara not to be late. On Friday evening, our families were due to meet us at the restaurant, but Hannah and I were leaving from home together. While I was upstairs changing, she left her phone charging on the kitchen counter. When I came down, the screen lit up. A message preview appeared beneath Carter's name. Tonight only works if he reacts first. I stood there long enough for the screen to go dark. My first impulse was to grab the phone and demand the passcode. My second was to call Carter and tell him not to come. My third was to cancel the dinner. Instead, I took a slow breath. Hannah came downstairs wearing the dark green dress she had bought on the joint card. She saw me beside the counter. What? She asked. Nothing. She picked up her phone and glanced at the screen. For 1 second, the practiced ease left her face. Then it returned. Ready? I looked at the reservation confirmation still open on my phone. Yes, I said. I'm ready. On the drive, Hannah talked about ordinary things. The weather. A podcast. Whether Mom would complain about the restaurant lighting. I answered when necessary. Inside, our private table was set with white plates, low candles, and a small arrangement Hannah had once mentioned liking. I had prepaid the deposit and selected the menu days earlier. Mom arrived first, then Mara and 2 other relatives. Everyone hugged us. Mara raised her glass before we even ordered. 9 years, she said. You two make it look easy. Hannah smiled. It was a perfect smile, wide enough for the room and empty when she turned away. I noticed she kept looking toward the entrance. Carter was 20 minutes late. When he finally arrived, he apologized to no one. He wore a suit that looked recently tailored and a new watch large enough to announce itself from across the table. He bent to kiss Mom's cheek, shook hands with everyone else, and clapped me on the shoulder. Happy anniversary, brother. Then he hugged Hannah longer than necessary. She did not pull away. Dinner began. Carter ordered another bottle for the table without asking. He told a story about a private investment opportunity and made sure everyone heard the number he claimed to have put into it. Mom watched him with open pride. Hannah watched him too. Halfway through the main course, Carter set down his glass. I brought something, he said. My stomach tightened, though my face did not change. He reached inside his jacket and placed a small black box on the table. Nobody spoke. Mom's smile vanished. Mara looked at me, then at Hannah. Carter turned the box toward my wife and opened it. Inside was a diamond ring. Not an engagement ring in the traditional sense, he would later claim. Just a symbol of intention. But he pushed back his chair and stood, so the distinction did not matter. Hannah, he said, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. If you ever wondered what it feels like to be picked by someone who isn't afraid to want more, here's your answer. Mom whispered, Carter, stop. He ignored her. He looked at me. You've had 9 years to give her the future she wants. Then he looked back at Hannah. Pick the man who can actually give you one. For a second, nobody moved. Hannah's breathing changed. She looked at the ring, then at Carter. Finally, she looked at me. That was the moment she still could have ended it. She could have told him he was disgusting. She could have shut the box. She could have stood beside me and demanded that he leave. Instead, she picked up the ring. Her fingers trembled, but not enough to stop her from sliding it onto her hand. Mom covered her mouth. Mara said, Hannah, what are you doing? Hannah stared at the diamond. Maybe I deserve to know what it feels like to be chosen loudly. The sentence sounded prepared. I looked at her face, and suddenly the message on her phone made complete sense. Tonight only works if he reacts first. They were waiting for me to shout. Carter wanted me angry. Hannah wanted me controlling. The family was the audience, and I had been assigned a role before I arrived. Under the table, I opened a secure banking application on my phone. A pending increase to our shared credit line had been waiting for my final authorization. I declined it. Then I removed Hannah as an authorized user from a secondary card attached to an anniversary trip we had planned for later that year. The card was mine, the access was discretionary, and the charges had not yet been made. I did not touch her personal account. I did not move joint funds. I stopped new exposure. One signature. One confirmation. Done. Above the table, Carter smiled like a man watching a door close behind him. Hannah held out her hand, so the ring caught the candlelight. I asked, "Is this what you want me to respect?" Her expression shifted. "For once," she said, "can you not make this about your pride?" That confirmed everything. She was not shocked. She was not confused. She had been waiting for that line. I folded my napkin and placed it beside my plate. "I'm not competing for my own marriage at a dinner table." Carter scoffed. "Nobody said you had to compete. You brought a ring to my anniversary dinner. I'm giving her a choice." "No, you're giving yourself an audience." Hannah stood. "You always do this," she said. "You shut down and act superior instead of fighting for anything. I spent 9 years fighting for this marriage, and all the ways you told me did not count." She looked at me as if I had failed a test. "You're leaving me in front of everyone." I met her eyes. "Then I'll stop making your choices my responsibility." I took my wallet, phone, and wedding ring from my hand. I did not throw the ring. I placed it on top of the restaurant receipt beside my plate. Then I left. My phone began vibrating before I reached the parking lot. Hannah called twice. Mom called 4 times. Carter sent 1 message. Running away proves my point. I did not answer. Theo opened his door 25 minutes later. He took one look at me and stepped aside. "Did it happen?" I nodded. He handed me a glass of water. "Tell me exactly what was said." I did. When I reached the part about the notification, Theo stopped me. "You saw the message before dinner?" "Yes." "And she put on the ring anyway?" "Yes." He leaned forward. "From this moment on, do not delete anything. Screenshot the message from Carter. Save every voicemail. Email copies to yourself. Tomorrow, call a lawyer." I canceled her secondary card. "Was it a joint account?" "No. My account. She was an authorized user." "Good. Anything else?" "I declined a pending joint credit increase." "Good." "I feel like I should go home." "Not tonight. She'll say I abandoned her. She's going to say whatever helps her tomorrow. You don't need to win the room tonight. You need to protect tomorrow." By midnight, I had 28 missed calls. Mom left a voicemail. "Dylan, cool off. Please don't embarrass the family any more than this already has." Carter got carried away, and Hannah was overwhelmed. Families survive by not turning every mistake into a war. Hannah's first text said, "You humiliated me by leaving." Her second said, "Carter was being dramatic." I was confused. Her third said, "If you cared, you would come back and talk instead of punishing me." I typed several responses and deleted all of them. Finally, I wrote, "I am willing to discuss what happened with a licensed counselor present. I will send available appointments tomorrow." She replied less than a minute later, "I'm not doing therapy, so you can make me the villain." I saved the conversation. The next morning, I contacted a family law attorney. I explained the dinner, the ring, the credit line, and the documents Hannah had asked me to sign. I was careful not to exaggerate. The attorney was equally careful in return. "I can't tell you what your wife intended," she said after reviewing the paperwork. "I can tell you these terms would have placed you in a worse position if significant debt were taken on or if the marriage ended soon afterward." She pointed to the shared credit provision. "This would have allowed additional exposure under circumstances you would not fully control." Then she pointed to the proposed beneficiary changes and asset language. "Do not sign anything else without independent review." I asked what I could legally protect. She explained the difference between preserving records, stopping new discretionary access, and improperly hiding or draining marital assets. I followed her instructions exactly. I opened a separate account for my future income where permitted. I documented existing balances. I canceled the anniversary trip. I stopped automatic payments for subscriptions that were not necessary. I left joint household funds untouched until we had formal guidance. Most importantly, I communicated in writing. Hannah hated that. She sent messages accusing me of being cold. "You planned this. You wanted an excuse to leave. A real husband would have fought for me." I answered only when necessary. "The house is available to you. I will collect personal items Saturday at 10. Counseling remains available. Please send financial questions through counsel." She never accepted the counseling appointment. For the first month, the family treated the dinner as an unfortunate misunderstanding. Mom called every few days. "Hannah is hurting," she said. "So am I. She says you won't speak to her." I offered counseling. She feels ambushed by that. I was offered a competition for my wife at my anniversary dinner. Carter is embarrassed. He should be. Family doesn't survive if everyone keeps score. Family doesn't survive by asking the betrayed person to protect the betrayal. She sighed as if I were being difficult. Can't you sit down with everyone? No. Why? Because they wanted a public reaction. I'm not giving them another one. Mara called once during that period. She was more direct. I think what Hannah did was awful, she said. But leaving without fighting for the marriage looked cold. I did fight for it. You walked out. I walked out after she wore my brother's ring. I know, but she says she was overwhelmed. Did she look overwhelmed before Carter arrived? Mara was quiet. I don't know. She kept watching the door. Another pause. I'm not defending her. You're asking me why I didn't perform enough pain for everyone to believe I had it. That's not what I mean. It's what you're asking. She ended the call politely. I could tell she thought I had become bitter. Meanwhile, Carter and Hannah allowed people to assume they were together without clearly confirming it. Carter posted photos from expensive restaurants. Sometimes only Hannah's hand appeared in the frame, wearing the bracelet. Once, the ring was visible beside a wine glass. The caption read, "Some choices change everything." I saved the post. 3 weeks after the dinner, Hannah sent me an email with the subject line updating our future. The body was carefully written. She said she had been emotionally neglected. She said Carter's gesture had forced her to acknowledge how unseen she felt. She said my refusal to fight proved that I had checked out of the marriage long before she did. At the end, she asked whether I would reconsider signing the financial documents so they could untangle things cooperatively. I forwarded the email to my attorney. Her response was short. Do not sign. Around the same time, I began learning more about Carter's money. I did not hire anyone to dig through his life. I did not break into accounts or ask friends to spy. Carter simply could not stop talking. At a family gathering I did not attend, he complained that a large estimated tax payment was government theft. Mom repeated the story to me while trying to explain why he had been stressed. Then one of his old business partners sent me an email because my name had appeared on paperwork years earlier as an emergency contact. He was trying to reach Carter regarding a disputed payout allocation. I told him I could not help and forwarded nothing. A month later, Carter called me directly. I need you to clear up something with Mom, he said. What? She thinks I'm in trouble because of one stupid notice. Are you? No. Then tell her. She listens to you. You wanted to finally be treated like a man with options. Handle your own notice. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You really think you're better than me? No, I think your finances are none of my business. They're Hannah's business now. Then explain them to her. He hung up. Afterward, my attorney obtained financial disclosures through the proper process because Hannah had begun formal separation proceedings while claiming she might need access to additional joint credit. The picture that emerged was not that Carter had no money. He did. But much of it was already spoken for. Taxes were due. An old private loan had to be repaid. Part of the payout remained disputed. Several large purchases had gone on credit while he waited for funds to clear. His new confidence rested on numbers that looked impressive only before obligations were deducted. Carter had not bought confidence. He had rented it. Hannah began calling me more often after that, though I rarely answered. One voicemail said, "I just want to understand why you could throw away 9 years so easily." Another said, "Carter made promises, but that does not mean I chose him." A third said, "You are acting like one mistake erased everything." I saved them all. I also recovered a copy of the bracelet card from a photo Hannah had taken and backed up to a shared household archive months earlier. The image showed the gift, the note, and her own caption draft beneath it. Someone finally pays attention. That hurt more than the diamond ring. Not because the message was crueler, but because it showed the betrayal had grown in ordinary moments. It had not begun at the restaurant. The restaurant was only where they wanted an audience. The most important evidence came later. During document exchange, an email thread surfaced between Hannah and Carter. Some messages were written from accounts they apparently thought would remain private. Others had been forwarded accidentally with financial attachments. The conversation went back several months. At first, it looked like flirtation hidden inside complaints. Hannah wrote that I was dependable, but emotionally flat. Carter wrote that she deserved someone who was not afraid to make her feel wanted. Then the messages became more specific. Hannah, he'll never leave. He hates looking like the bad guy. Carter, once you see what money feels like, he's done. Hannah, I need him to react first so everyone understands why I'm unhappy. Carter, that won't be hard. He always acts like dad when he's mad. Hannah, don't do anything stupid before the anniversary. Carter, relax. I know how to make a point. Hannah, it needs to look like you surprised me. Carter, finally beating him at something. I read that last line 3 times. For most of my childhood, I had protected Carter from comparisons. If mom praised me, I changed the subject. If relatives joked that I was the responsible one, I reminded them he was better with people. When he needed help, I gave it without making him feel smaller. All that time, he had been keeping score. Hannah had known it. She had helped him design the moment. There were also messages about the financial paperwork. Hannah, I need him to sign before anything changes. Carter, tell him it's about trust. Hannah, he'll want a lawyer. Carter, then make him feel guilty. Nothing in the thread explicitly said they planned to steal money. The attorney warned me not to claim more than the evidence proved. But the timing was clear. Hannah wanted broader financial leverage before publicly destabilizing the marriage. That was enough for me. Theo read copies of the messages at my kitchen table. He looked sick. You knew it was bad, he said. Did you know it was this planned? No. What are you going to do? Nothing yet. He stared at me. Nothing. They already think silence means they won. Theo nodded slowly. Quiet is only weakness if you do nothing with it. I'm not doing nothing. For the next several months, I let the legal process move. Hannah stayed in the house for a while, then moved out. Carter helped her. Their relationship lasted publicly for about 4 months before the cracks became obvious. She started asking me questions she should have been asking him. Do you know why Carter's account is frozen? Did mom say anything about a tax issue? Was the payout smaller than he claimed? I replied once. Carter's finances are not my responsibility. She called immediately. I did not answer. Mom's attitude began to shift when Carter asked her for a short-term loan. She called me that evening. He says it's just timing, she said. Then it's timing. Do you know something? I know what has been disclosed through the legal process. I'm not discussing his private finances with you. Is Hannah safe? She made her choice. Dylan. What do you want me to say? I want you to stop sounding like you don't care. I cared for 9 years. That did not protect me. She started crying. I hated hearing it. She was still my mother, and I understood that she wanted the family intact. But her version of peace always required the injured person to swallow the truth first. I thought if everyone calmed down, this could still be fixed, she said. You told me not to embarrass the family after my brother proposed to my wife. I was panicking. You asked me to protect all of you from the consequences. I didn't know they planned it. You didn't want to know. She did not call for 3 weeks. 8 months after the anniversary dinner, Hannah requested a family meeting. Her attorney called it an attempt at personal closure. Hannah described it in a message differently. People deserve to hear both sides. I showed the text to Theo. He said, she wants the room back. I know. Are you going? Yes. Why? Because now I have the truth in writing. The meeting took place in Mom's living room on a Sunday afternoon. The room had not changed much since we were kids. Family photos covered one wall. Carter and I appeared in half of them, standing beside each other at birthdays, graduations, and holidays. On the coffee table were 6 mismatched cups, a bowl of sugar packets, and a plate of cookies no one touched. Mom sat in her usual chair. Mara took the end of the couch. Hannah sat beside Carter, though there was a visible space between them. I sat across from them with a plain envelope on my lap. Mom began by asking everyone to stay calm. Hannah spoke first. She wore no ring. I asked for this because I'm tired of being treated like the worst person in the family over one awful night, she said. I was overwhelmed. Carter made a dramatic gesture. Dylan shut down and left. He would not talk to me privately. He turned one night into a life sentence. I said nothing. She continued. I had been unhappy for a long time. I tried to tell him. He heard criticism instead of pain. At dinner, I wanted him to fight for me. Instead, he punished me financially and emotionally. Mom looked at me. Dylan, did you cancel her cards that night? I canceled her access to one secondary card in my name and declined a pending joint credit increase. I did not take her personal money or drain joint funds. Hannah shook her head. Listen to how clinical that sounds. It is a financial question. It was our anniversary. Yes. You left me there. You put on his ring. I was confused. Carter leaned forward. This is exactly the problem, he said. She was drowning, and you wanted a signed statement before you would help her. I looked at him. He wore the same watch from the dinner, though the face was scratched now. Carter spread his hands. I stepped in because she deserved someone who would fight for her. Mara glanced down at her coffee. Mom said, Dylan, I know you were hurt, but your silence made everything worse. That was the moment they had wanted for 8 months. Hannah wanted me to admit I was cold. Carter wanted me to look jealous. Mom wanted a misunderstanding she could forgive. I placed the envelope on the coffee table. You all watched the proposal, I said. Now you can read the planning. No one moved. I opened the envelope and passed copies to Mara and Mom first. Hannah's face changed before either of them reached the second page. What is that? She asked. Your messages. You went through my phone? No. These were produced during the legal process and matched to the email chain. Carter stood. This is private. So was my marriage. Dylan, Mom said quietly. Read. The room fell silent except for paper moving. Mara read faster than Mom. Her eyes stopped on the line about making me react first. Then she turned the page. Mom reached the message where Carter wrote, finally beating him at something. Her hand began to shake. Is this real? She asked. Hannah stood. You're humiliating me. No, I said. You humiliated me in public. I'm correcting the record in the same room. You saved all of this for 8 months just to destroy me? I saved it because you spent 8 months telling people I abandoned you over one confusing moment. It was a private conversation. It was the plan behind a public betrayal. Carter stepped toward the table. You don't know what those messages meant. I know exactly what it needs to look like you surprised me means. He looked at Hannah. She did not look back. I removed a second set of papers from the envelope. These are the documents Hannah wanted me to sign before the dinner. Independent counsel reviewed them. They would have increased my exposure to new debt and weakened my position if the marriage ended shortly afterward. Hannah's voice rose. I was trying to protect myself. Before the anniversary, I did not know what was going to happen. I tapped the messages. You told Carter not to do anything before the anniversary. You told him it had to look spontaneous. She stared at me. For the first time, she had no polished answer ready. Carter tried to redirect the room. This is about money because Dylan cannot handle losing. No, I said. Money is what you use to make betrayal look like a better offer. I placed another document on the table. It was a summary of financial disclosures relevant to Hannah's claims, not Carter's entire private history. It showed the obligations attached to the future he had advertised: tax liabilities, disputed funds, existing private debt, and large credit purchases. Hannah grabbed the page. Her eyes moved down the numbers. What is this? Carter reached for it. Give me that. She pulled it away. You told me everything was handled. It is handled. This says the tax payment alone is. It's timing. You said the payout was clear. It is clear. Then why did you ask your mother for money? Mom's head snapped toward him. Carter's face reddened. That has nothing to do with this. Hannah laughed once, sharply. It has everything to do with this. You stood in that restaurant and promised me security. Carter turned on her. You were already halfway out the door. I just opened it. The words landed harder than anything I could have said. Hannah stared at him. So, I was just a way to beat Dylan? You told me you were unhappy. That's not an answer. You like the attention. Don't pretend you were tricked into every message you sent. She stepped back. Carter pointed at her. You wanted him to react. You wanted the family to think he was controlling. That was your idea. Hannah looked at Mom. Are you going to let him talk to me like this? Mom did not move. Mara set the papers down. I thought Dylan was being cold, she said. I was wrong. Hannah turned to her. Mara, You don't know what our marriage was like. I know what these messages say. You saw how he treated me afterward. I saw him refuse to perform for you. That is not what happened. Mara's voice remained calm. You didn't choose love. You chose whoever looked richer that night. Hannah's face went white. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then Mom began crying. Not loudly. She covered her mouth and looked at Carter as if she had never seen him clearly before. I called it a misunderstanding, she said, because the truth made me ashamed of my own son. Carter scoffed. Great. Now everybody gets to make me the villain because Dylan printed some texts. You brought a ring to your brother's anniversary dinner, Mom said. Hannah wanted a choice. She was married. She was unhappy. She was married. It was the first time Mom had said it without softening the sentence. Carter grabbed his coat. This family has always been about Dylan. I almost laughed. Even then, with his own messages on the table, he still needed to be the overlooked child. He looked at me. You happy now? No. That seemed to unsettle him more than anger would have. I'm done competing with you, I said. You were the only one keeping score. He left and slammed the door. Hannah remained standing beside the couch. She looked smaller without him there, though not innocent. Mom wiped her face. I'm sorry, she said to me. I believe she meant it. That did not erase the 8 months before it. I needed a mother that night, I said, not a referee. She lowered her eyes. I know. No, you know now. She nodded. Mara apologized next. She did not make excuses. I thought leaving meant you did not care, she said. I understand now that you knew they wanted a reaction. I knew enough. I'm sorry. Thank you. Hannah waited until Mom and Mara went into the kitchen before approaching me. Can we talk alone? She asked. No. Dylan, please. No private conversations. You got what you wanted. I looked at her. What do you think I wanted? To prove I was wrong. You were wrong. Her eyes filled with tears. You did not have to do it like this. You asked for a family meeting because people deserve to hear both sides. I did not know you were going to bring documents. You knew what your side needed hidden. She flinched. I was unhappy. You were allowed to be unhappy. You never listened. I offered counseling. After you left. I asked you for specifics before the dinner. You gave me insults. Then you helped my brother build a scene where my reaction was supposed to justify both of you. She wiped her cheek. I did not think it would go that far. You told him it had to look like a surprise. I wanted you to care. I cared. You wanted an audience. That's not fair. It's in your own words. She looked toward the kitchen. So that's it. That was at the moment you wore his ring at our table. You're really going through with the divorce? Yes. Her face twisted. After 9 years? Because of what you did during them. She shook her head. You will regret being this rigid. I may regret a lot of things. I will not regret refusing to compete with my brother for a wife who helped arrange the contest. I picked up the envelope. From the kitchen, Mom called Hannah's name, but Hannah did not answer. I left the house without another word. The divorce was finalized several months later. Hannah did not leave with nothing, nor did I. The assets were divided through the legal process. There was no secret victory where I took everything and left her ruined. Real life does not work that way, and I did not want it to. What she lost was the story she had built. She could no longer tell the family she had been swept into one confusing moment. The messages showed planning. The paperwork showed timing. Her refusal of counseling showed she had not wanted repair on any terms that required accountability. Carter's image collapsed more slowly. He sold the watch. Then several other purchases disappeared from his social media. He paid what he owed, renegotiated what he could, and stopped posting captions about winning. He and Hannah did not last. From what I heard, they blamed each other until there was nothing left to defend. She said he lied about the life he could offer. He said she only wanted him when she thought he was rich. Both statements were probably true. Mom and I speak now, but less often than before. She no longer asks me to forgive Carter for the sake of family. Carter and I have not spoken since the meeting. Mara checks in occasionally and never pressures me to repair what I did not break. Theo remains the only person who knew, from the beginning, that my silence was not surrender. Months after the divorce, I opened the kitchen drawer where I had kept the anniversary cards. For a while, I considered throwing them away. Instead, I read each one. They were proof that some years had been real, even if the ending exposed things I had refused to see. I did not need to destroy every memory to accept that the marriage was over. At the bottom of the drawer was the receipt from our 9th anniversary dinner. My wedding ring had been returned to me through counsel, wrapped in a small envelope. I put the ring beside the receipt, closed the drawer, and made coffee. Only 1 cup this time. For months, people assumed I had lost Hannah because Carter offered her more money. That was never the truth. I lost the illusion that loyalty mattered to people who were waiting for a better offer. She thought I froze because I was broken. The truth is, that was the first time I stopped trying to save something that had already chosen someone else. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.